What's up everyone, it's Jambors, new video, and in this video I will be talking about which season was better, if 2023 or 2024. I did some measurements in which I will compare like songs, stagings, interval acts, overall feeling, and then let's see what will be the final score. Let's talk! Alright guys, welcome back to my channel, very glad you're here. Please subscribe or consider it, share the video, like the video, give me some comments in below, and also consider becoming a member. First of all, you will receive all the videos in the moment I will upload them, so you have exclusive time to watch them whenever you want. You doesn't need to wait, and also there are so many videos which are just exclusive for members only, like my master classes describing the stagings, not really telling which staging is better. This is for different videos which are basically available for everybody, but those are really concrete description of those stagings, very deep dive into the magic of stagings and describing the stagings of various countries, what they done good, what they didn't done good, what worked and what doesn't work, or why some particular staging really worked, even though you think like, okay, subjectively don't like it whatsoever, but there are so many little stuff done which makes them absolutely perfect, especially for the professional eye, let's say, and some of them, they don't do this perfectly. But this is normal, this is what I described, check it. It's up to you, it's not very expensive, so you can give it a shot for a month. Let's see. Anyway, let's talk about today's topic. Which Eurovision was better, 2023 or 2024? Well, I can, go and end this video now with my subjective feelings, but let's wait it. I also want to digest it a little bit when I will be talking about it, and this will be like a little bit of intro to summarize the season. First of all, I think this 2024 was the first season where really the no jurors in semifinal rule really kicked in the way that we saw the completely shift in what kind of songs we're receiving. Also, in my opinion, this year was very scandalized politically. Doesn't matter now, it's not the video about it. I think that went for some bad for the brand, but for something good for this season also, because it clearly takes it as a topic. It was topic. I don't remember a season when Eurovision was such a topic everywhere, even in here in Czechia. Was it better watched? No, it wasn't. It was worse actually. I think it disgusted people at some point, but just here in the country it can be also affected because we didn't make it to the finals, so it's very hard to judge. Also, we had a different kind of songs this year, different stage, different set of hosts. Like, if I can talk about this, that 2 host setup is better than 4 or 3 host setup, I would really keep it this way. I really enjoyed it, dynamic. It wasn't a feeling that huge. You could concentrate on the hosts and get personal attachment to them as well. Also, they were really good, like especially Petra Mede. She was brilliant. Malin Ackerman, it was okay for the role she had. I think it was quite good, and the Eurovision flow amazingly, which I think was very affected by the very specific humor Swedes chose, and the whole season was kind of very, very expected for various reasons. It didn't have this feeling as Eurovision 2023, which was British and Ukrainian in general, like together. This was a whole full Swedish and in Swedish way with Swedish humor, which also affected it. So of course the comparison of those, it's hard to do. But there are no objective things we can compare. We can compare just numbers. But so yes, this talk will be very, very subjective. So let's start with first topic, and this is script and hosts. In my opinion, if I compare the setup of 2023 Eurovision in Liverpool and in Sweden, Swedes bring much more, like, shoot yourself in your own leg humor, like dark humor, ironical, parodical humor about Eurovision. I don't know if it's for good or bad, but there were so many things which, first of all, they created buzz. Some groups felt offended. I think we need humor in our lives, so don't feel offended about humor. But also I saw other stuff over there. For example, there was this joke about spokesperson. Of course, some of you saw only this transgender joke. I actually more likely saw what we all do. I also was spokesperson many times, not for huge Eurovision, but for another shows, and it forces you as a spokesperson to say something more than just points, right? Not to be like, hey, I'm hello from Czechia, our points go to blah 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 by like 3 seconds, right? It must go with something terrible, jokish, and whatsoever. I think that the joke was there. Also, those let's say gay jokes and so on. Grinder, come on, let's admit Eurovision main audience, like the hardcore audience, it's this. Like, this is nothing wrong. Like, come on, this is our roots, this is the reality. Like, let's admit it, let's make fun of ourselves or yourselves. Just, this is nothing really terrible in the way of host and scripts. This was brilliant in this way. I think Liverpool didn't have this kind of humor. It was more sterile. It was at some point also because of this looking as a bigger show. At some point the Swedish show was looking more as a family show. Somehow, this is a very subjective feeling, but I had fun during it, and the script was just much funnier, faster, on point, and maybe it just rang the right bells. I don't know, but if I go with the column hosts and script, Sweden is winning. Let's move on to the other category, which is which year had better songs overall. And we can be more objective or we can be less objective. I will choose a middle way, of course. And in my opinion, the rule which was presented 2 years ago, that the juries are not being present in the semifinal, didn't really affect the Eurovision before in 2023, but affected very much Eurovision 2024, much sooner actually than I expected. And I expect, if this rule won't change, that 2025 edition will be affected even more for many logical reasons. First of all, 2023 no one knew, so it was more likely the classical Eurovision with all kind of songs, but with the higher quality standards, let's say. Maybe you would agree or not, because the numbers proving me right, even though they are very close to each other, but it was less humorous and less dancey acts. It was more likely about everything in the middle, much more relevant songs after all for radios. This year already introduced much more joke acts, let's say, whether you agree with there are joke acts or not, but a little bit more of, let's say, fun, not taking the music so seriously, but more likely the presentation, and also some more experiments and more cultural stuff in general, which might be good if you like it. It might be worse if you don't like it. I would say that especially this year, what it showed me, and I think it can get just a little bit even worse, that more and more cultural reflecting songs we will be having, more conflict we will be having. I think this is the issue of Europe, that we are not open-minded that much. After all, this Eurovision showed it a lot, and it creates unnecessary tension, but I think it's inevitable. This is how Eurovision is, this is how the rules are, but those rules will affect quality. What kind of songs, how quality songs will be appearing at Eurovision, and it will go more for effect, more for fun, more for shock and cultural. Basically, in my opinion, it will a little bit kill new genres. Good singing artists, it will be more about how good you will be able to act than how are you able to sing. It will be more about the effect than the real quality. And we saw it, you will not like this example, but we saw it in Ireland. It was much more about staging than the song and performance, because it was about how it's shot, the music aside, and both juries and people liked it. So after all, this is maybe a formula for everybody, but this is where the Eurovision is shifting to 2000s, and I would already say that song quality was much better in 2023. The next category are stagings. Which season, 2023 or 24, had better stagings? And here I would say that it's easy to compare, but without I will say my judgment, let's compare it. 2023 Eurovision in Liverpool had a very classically made stage. So it was a platform with a catwalk and some smaller platform. Boxing kind of feeling of stage, which had some movable elements which basically almost no one used. Most of countries were using the first huge part element of the stage, basically being slipped on the LED screen, and the stagings were flat, were uninspiring in my opinion, and weren't looking that good in compare to 2024, where the stage was 360 more likely, had much more movable elements and could create different structures. Also, the LED wasn't really that close to the artist, and even though they tried to avoid it, you could see the effect anyway, that it was still too big. But those elements of the stage, because it was 360, gives you much more opportunities to reshape the stage to completely different atmosphere, vibe and feeling. Also with the elements which were going from above the ceiling, and also that they could create a different angles. So you have much more variety, and as you can see, this year's trend, which I think it's a good trend, was using as less LED as possible, using much more effects which reshape the arena, which brings another depth and being more filmic. First of all, stage this year much better, stagings this year much better. Another category is interval acts, and basically the approach. We saw first semifinal this year, it was more about music. Second semifinal, much more about fun. And the finals in general about Swedish music, those kind of heads down to artists like Loreen or ABBA, or that was this Alcazar, which I didn't really get. So this one is hardcore, because in Liverpool, I really remember just the last act with Duncan Lawrence, this You Never Walk Alone, which was after all brilliant. So if I just go with the way how the finals was done, the main interval act, and I will compare this to, for example, Loreen, I would go with 2023, because it was much more pompous, bigger, nicely combined, also with all the history in it, much more for Eurovision fans. Something what Eurovision this year did in the first semi-final with Fuego, Slow-Mo and Eric Sade. I don't remember the song, but this was the only one which didn't really fit me there somehow. But this one, but in bigger scale. And if I compare this You Never Walk Alone with, for example, Loreen, I will go with Never Walk Alone. It was much more dynamic, much more diverse, much more emotional. The Loreen act was brilliant in some points, but also it was very long, and at some point it was very static, even though so many moves she needed to do for her ups I don't get. Like this is brilliant, but also it was long and a little bit boring after all. And also Alcazar didn't really talk to me at all, and in my opinion, if I can compare those 2 years where two semifinals in Liverpool were kind of boring and the final really worked, in Sweden it was opposite. Absolutely two brilliant semifinals and a little bit boring finals. Of course I don't count the result doing, but I count this stuff. And for me, this would be Deuce, not clear champion for me. I really like this year Benjamin Ingrosso. I loved it. This was perfect. I like the funny acts in second semi-final. I didn't enjoy the final that much this year, and vice versa. In general, I would say Swedish approach, much more funnier. So this is for me a Deuce. No one is winning in here. And let's move on to postcards. We basically in 2 years we saw completely different concept. 2023 Liverpool were showing Liverpool or UK, were showing the country of the artists, and were showing Ukrainian city or some monument or something. Very nice concept, kind of 360, kind of very educational, very visually attractive, and somehow telling the story, like it was attractive. This year they call it, how do you say, like a green filming approach for postcards. Basically they were shot on mobile phone with some help or not, doesn't matter. I would say let's save the money, right? There was nothing green about it, because we are talking about television, so it had such a high production, it never would be green. So it was more like, let's save the money, and no one cares about postcards anyway. And this for me was the postcards this year. They were about nothing. Like I saw some elements from the artists there from in those frames and so on, but they didn't talk to me anyhow. I don't remember single one of them. Not a theme, topic, nothing. It was random shots with random stuff in it, and if I can just summarize, I didn't enjoy those year postcards. In my opinion, they weren't Eurovision quality. It wasn't Eurovision, it was some cheap show quality postcards. Against Eurovision, I think we should go back to like have higher standards. I know it costs money, but it's Eurovision. It's the biggest show, right? So it should look like a biggest show. And this was a mismatch in 2024, and all points go to 2023. And now we go to the last category, which is extremely subjective, of course, but it's results. And this is something what, of course, neither 22 or 23 or 24 couldn't really predict, couldn't really affect, because the system was basically almost the same or similar. It was the same basically. I just liked more a little bit this year how results for semifinal qualifiers was done. In my opinion, it was a little bit better, even though the green room was behind the arena. It wasn't inside, but somehow how it was then shot, the atmosphere, the nerves, I was feeling much more tension this year. It's very subjective, I don't know why, but I felt this much more this year. And what I must say, that also I had this kind of drama feeling much stronger this year than in 2023, where it was basically between two countries. But in 2024 it was uncertain who's gonna win, even though crazy stuff with Nemo that he received, or that Nemo received so many points from juries. But then it was very dramatic until the very end moments. So many different points was given somewhere else. Of course, it was affected by the situation around this Eurovision in general, but this is reality. It brought the drama into the show, and from the show business perspective, this was perfect thing for Eurovision for this year. Of course, this will affect Eurovision probably for more upcoming years, and for them it's not a good thing to happen. For this year, of course, for probably viewerships that might be really good. I don't know the figures from other countries, in here didn't help at all, but for business this is good for 1 year. From my experience in general, this always backfires. So one extreme year, emotion, absolutely depletion and whatsoever, creates the bad vibe for the upcoming year or years. So this is something what EBU and the host broadcaster should really take care of, and start with very, very positive marketing as soon as possible about it, and starting to being a very, very transparent body to debunk, to communicate, to being positive the whole year. And I really hope that they will manage to do it, because it's now in a neutral country anyway, and this might be a big plus for Eurovision in general. And let's hope it will be able to heal, like so many people are going to Switzerland to heal, so why not Eurovision? Maybe this is for good. This is it. But who won? So who's the winner? Like in ice hockey terminology, 2-4 24 won. For 2 points to 2023 UK Eurovision, 4 points to Swedish Eurovision. In 2024, 24 is a result. I think there is no coincidence about this. I'm stopping to believing in coincidences anyway, and that's my result. But also you can have completely different opinion, so share it with me. Let me know in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and also consider becoming a member or giving me a super like or buy me a coffee for supporting this channel and my work. And that's it. That's all for me for now, and I see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.